You just snorted. That was on the recording. It sounds like that's really good. You're good at snorting. Your microphone's turned.
I know. I'm working on it.
All right.
Gotta get comfy. I don't care if people see me.
You can just do, all you have to do is turn it.
Just leave me alone.
All right. You snorted again. All right. You ready?
Listo.
Okay. Welcome to InfoSec to Insanity Podcast. I don't know what episode number this is, but I don't really have to know. So the title for this episode is, Has Technology Gone Too Far? My wife thinks so. So you're my wife.
I am your wife.
This is the first time you've been on the podcast.
It is.
We did a podcast how long ago?
I don't know, probably 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, that was the Unsecurity podcast.
It was.
And that was, and you're doing an advertising for Starbucks. Starbucks. So we tried recording this on Thursday, live, right? I thought the live conversation was freaking awesome. Then the tech was just terrible. Couldn't hear you. The video was terrible.
I can't hear you now that well. I don't know why.
You can't hear me? I can hear me.
Okay.
This is kind of cool. If I can hear, wait. Okay, you can't hear me? That's not good.
I mean, I can hear you. I just can't. Maybe it's me.
Yeah, it's probably you.
Okay. I'm just kidding.
All right. So has technology gone too far? My wife thinks so. So let's start off by just introduce yourself, your name, and what are you doing here?
My name is Marlis, or Marla,
Okay.
or Mar.
All right. And you're my wife?
I am your wife.
How long have we been married? Not you.
20, 21 years.
21 years. You're right. It's tattooed right there.
I don't have that tattoo on me.
Maybe you need the tattoo.
Maybe.
That's why I got the tattoo, because I always forgot when our anniversary was. So now I don't ever forget.
Well, no, I just have to.
I know. Sometimes I forget to look at my arm now.
You'll have to stay alive for a long time, so I know.
So it's May 17th. Or you
Correct.
could just put my arm in, like, I don't know, freeze it or something. Or
That's morbid.
it is morbid. So what's it like? The questions that I get, and I think you hear sometimes, what's it like living with me?
It is good.
Just good.
It is great. It is awkward sometimes. It is
Chaotic.
adventurous, chaotic. It is, I have to be adaptable.
Yeah.
Very adaptable.
What makes it chaotic?
You never know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, when we have to do it.
Me?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So you've been around. We bought this house 2 years ago. We live in Mexico.
We do.
And that's part of our adventures, right? I mean, we've been kind of all over the place, but this is where we live now. And we bought this house specifically. We believe, both of us, that if you've been blessed, you bless other people.
Correct.
And so we've been blessed. We bought this house. It's a large house, but under the premise that anybody can come stay here and visit us. And it was meant to treat employees to a place where they could vacation. So we've had like 160 people come stay with us since we moved here.
Yeah.
And some of those, like out of the 160 people that have been here, a lot of them have been security people.
Yes. I would say a good amount of them.
We've had missionaries here. We've had family members here. We've had
some people we don't even know.
Random people. Random Twitter guy. He was a security guy, though. We found out later.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you remember Random Twitter guy?
I do remember Random Twitter guy.
Random Twitter guy had asked on Twitter if anybody could suggest a place that he could take his girlfriend in Mexico for his birthday. And so I responded on Twitter, why don't you come stay at my place? And he's like, what?
And that's where I had to become adaptable.
Yeah, I do stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not really sorry. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
So those people, the security people, when you watch us, because I think you're very observant. You've always been very situationally aware. Like, what's going on around you. It's hard to pull a fast one on you. I mean, I think it is.
It is.
I kind of brag that I do, but I don't think I really do.
You really don't.
I think I did, but then I think you make me think I did.
Sometimes I just don't say anything.
Yeah. All right. So those security people, when you see us and you watch us, what do you notice about us? What's different? Because I'm always interested in somebody else's perspective. I know security people, but what do people like you think when you see security people talking?
Well, I definitely think your minds are different. I think that security people, a lot of times you definitely have a different way of thinking. I think that you don't realize that most people on the other side don't understand what you're
talking about.
But I think you sometimes think that people understand.
So we kind of take it for granted, do you think?
Well, I don't know about for granted. I just think it's the average Joe or the average person doesn't understand necessarily what you're talking about. But I think everybody in, security people, there's different positions. So, a penetration tester, not everybody necessarily maybe needs to understand every position either. It just depends on the position. But security people are, interesting to watch and interesting to talk to. There's posture, there's some people who come down here are posturing.
Yeah.
Some people are really fun security people, like the ones that can break in, and stuff. Physical security is interesting, social engineering, all those aspects. Is interesting.
Has there been one person that you can think of that comes to mind as like, that one's really interesting? Just like, yeah.
The person?
Yeah.
Matt Finley.
Yeah.
I like talking to him. I like hearing about some of his stories, just because I know him from years and some of the things he does, and it's kind of fun.
He's been with FR Secure for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
He, interesting stories with some of the social engineering attacks that he's done over the years. It's always fun. All right, so I'm curious because I don't think I've ever asked you this before. And I go along those same lines of like security people, I think assume people know what we're saying, or you assume we know what we're doing, or whatever. What would you say I do for a living?
Well, that's a hard one because you do a lot of things. You own companies, so you have many different places. I know what you love to do, and that is you're visionary. You love to create things, and then you like to hand those off so that people can actually fulfill it, to finish it. But you like to do the visionary.
I'm not very consistent.
No, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have many jobs. You have many things that you do. And some you have to do, and some you don't want to do, and some you love to do.
One of the challenging things, I think, for a lot of security people that have spouses, husbands, wives, even close friends, sometimes it feels isolated, because a lot of the stuff we do, people don't know what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that over the last 20 years, because you've been with me, I started probably 10 years prior to us getting married. And then the last 20 years, you've seen the ride. And you've always been very supportive of me. You always want to help, right? And sometimes it's frustrating, I know, for you, and I think it's frustrating for me because I try to share what it is I'm going through.
Yeah.
But
I can't relate.
I know,
yeah.
And it's hard, but
absolutely.
And I know that's been one of the things that I think it's good to have peers that are security people that you can trust. And I like having you around to kind of vet them too, because you are very observant. And I think if one of them was a bad influence for me, I think you'd point it out, which is, are any of my security people bad influences? You don't have to mention their names.
I don't think anymore, but I think you had some.
I have had some.
But I won't mention names. Well,
in the part of this podcast, the reason why this podcast is it's about being authentic. That's why I'm really excited about having you and talking to you, because you're also a lot like me. You're not a bullshitter. You'll tell it like it is.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not. So I think this is going to be a fun conversation where we talk about, again, the title is Has Technology Gone Too Far? My wife thinks so. And this title comes from a conversation we had when you came back from a trip, and you were kind of pissed off, I think. You were angry at the fact that, at least during this trip, and I think you've seen it in many places because after we had the talk about it, but on this trip you mentioned things like in the airport, how couples would sit there at the terminal for an hour or more and not say a single word to each other. They were all heads down in their technology. And then we got to talking about, wow, maybe we do have too much technology, or maybe we're too dependent on technology. But it ended up being a really interesting conversation. You have your opinion,
Mhm.
and most of the time I love your opinion. Sometimes I don't. When you stop me from like buying motorcycles,
Mhm.
I don't like that too
Which I'll
much.
continue to do.
Yeah, no. So what tech habits annoy you the most? Like tech habits where you see people, is it the fact that they're not spending time with each other face to face? What tech thing just like drives you nuts?
Well, I think we're all guilty of that. Maybe not all, but the majority of us are guilty of spending too much time on our phones or computers or whatever it might be. Maybe watching TV at night. Sometimes I do that. I'll be honest, and ignoring people. But I think I just noticed that, like, the couples just sitting in the airport was specifically when I noticed, literally for an hour or more, right next to each other. They weren't watching movies, they didn't have earbuds in and not talking to each other. And I just thought, how sad when, I don't know, like, can't converse. And it wasn't just one or two couples. I mean, I'd watch, and I don't know why I singled out couples, but for some reason my mind just happened to single that out. And, I've been just paying attention more to watching people on the streets because I walk a lot here in Mexico, and just seeing people constantly walking across streets on their phones and seeing families with their children, everybody's on their phones and, just things like that. And that was just kind of, the phones tend to be the more specific thing you see. But I think in general, we're just so stuck on always being on something.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you
called me out on Thursday. So on Thursday, because I preach all the time about the number one thing you can do around information security is situational awareness,
Mm-hmm.
right? How critical that is. Understanding the situation you're in, understanding the threats that are around you. That's key to protecting yourself, whether it be physical or whether it be online. And you mentioned on Thursday when we were talking about how sometimes I completely ignore you, and it's not intentional, where I'm on my phone or on a piece of, some electronic something, and you're talking to me and I'm not paying attention. And so that was really convicting for me on Thursday because I'm like, you're right. The same thing I preach about situational awareness with the person I love the most.
Yeah.
Fuck it up. So I appreciate it. But that's one of the things that's so great about having a no bullshitter wife that'll tell you what she really feels is you call it out.
And I think, again, thank you. And again, I think we're all guilty of it. I mean, we have guests here and sometimes I do it. And honestly,
sometimes we try to get away from
it. I do. Sometimes I do because I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie about it. But I think, if we just if people took a step back and maybe made a conscious effort, I think our world would be just a little better place.
Probably a lot better, right?
Well, okay, a lot better.
I mean, it seems like technology gets in the way of...
And there's so many other places, technologies. If you're asking me, what does technology get in the way of? I can give you many. Media.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a whole nother...
We just had the presidential election.
Yeah. I could go on about that for a while, but...
Yeah, that was an interesting... So the election was last week as well,
mm-hmm.
right? And so it was... And I've been actually spending a lot of time on social media, just watching, it's entertaining in some respects, but it's also like, holy shit, people are freaking out about this. So there's there's the responsible use of technology, and then there's irresponsible use of technology. There's, I think, when you're using technology in balance or when it's become an addiction. And so in your life, can you see places where you think it's an addiction, where it's unhealthy? And then conversely, give me some ideas on where you think it's healthy.
Well, so
it's a big topic.
Yes. It's absolutely an addiction when it comes to pornography.
There you go. Good one.
It's addiction when it is taken away from your marriage or children. When it comes to video games.
Yeah.
It could be with your children, maybe you have an addiction and it's taken away from going out and doing things outdoors, or maybe doing things with the family, or maybe not doing their homework or not doing other things. Who knows what that is. I think maybe there's other things you could be doing online too, like gambling on sports, gambling. I mean, there's so many different things, honestly.
Which in and of itself may not be bad, but it's when it becomes, for me anyway, when there's negative consequences associated with it.
Exactly. But, and then, I mean, really, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's...
Right? Well, when you think about it, I mean, think about all the places where there's technology.
TikToks and social media, people strolling. So here's another thing where addiction is bad. Social media. You could be sitting there, people, I mean, I wonder if we went on and did a survey of how many hours you spend on social media, whether it be TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, X now. How many hours are people spending on that in a day? Versus how many hours are they spending with their family?
Face to face.
Yes.
Right.
Versus work.
When people, it's in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
We are social creatures. You and I both love people, but I think you and I both don't like people.
True.
You know, I mean, it's a difference.
But you like people enough to sit there and watch people on social media.
Well, I do that for entertainment. For me, I think it's because if you look at like Facebook, I don't post anything there. I watch, and I also, but I'll give you an example where I think it could be healthy. Like what I've been doing on Twitter lately, certainly since the election, is looking at reactions to people, because I think when you talk about situational awareness, knowing what's going on, you know, what threats should I be looking out for? What things should I be prepared for? Huh. And then when it becomes, I think, an addiction is, well, I'm no longer taking care of the things that are right in front of me. I'm forgetting things. I'm not, you know what I mean?
And when I say you, I'm not saying you. Yeah. I'm saying people.
Yeah. And I don't mind.
Yeah.
That's the thing I've learned over the years is when you, I think, are comfortable enough about yourself, you don't mind when people critique you. You don't mind when people give you advice, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were talking about me specifically, I took no offense to it.
And I'm not. I'm talking about in general. When I just was thinking to myself, like, I wonder if you did that, and if people did that to themselves, and just, you know, really took a look at themselves. Because I said this to myself, like, how many hours? And so I really looked, and I'm like, you know, honestly, I looked at my time that I spend. I'm actually pretty good. I was shocked.
No, I think you.
No, but I mean, I looked at my phone at like how many hours, and I was like, I was shocked that it wasn't more, because. Right.
Well, there's some people, I mean.
I think it helps I live somewhere warm too. I'll be honest.
Well, and it's part of who you are, right? We did Strengths Finders a while back, and your number one strength is what?
Responsibility, which I hate, kind of. I'll be honest, I hate it.
But so it's just part of your human nature. Yeah. I don't think you could abuse social media even if you tried to. You know, you're one of those people that's very grounded. That
kind of sucks.
No, but you set a good example.
Yeah.
The people around you. You know, I mean, the people around you can look, and if you want to know what moderation looks like, I think you're a good example. If you want to see what crazy looks like, I'm a good example on that one. You know.
Yeah.
Because it's not just social media. When you think about technology, we've got our computers, we've got our phones, we've got
TV,
iPads, we've got televisions, we've got refrigerators, we've got smart lights, you've got, I mean, on and on, camera surveillance, we've got alarm systems here, we've got cars. I mean, I've got a drone, I've got
watches.
I mean, it's like everywhere, right? And we're part of that culture. So you and I are part of, and everybody in our generation, we're part of this generation that remembers what it was like before all of this. Mm-hmm. Right? I remember when my house was pretty much analog, right? There wasn't a lot of technology in my house. Didn't have a cell phone with me all the time. I remember the first time I got a beeper, and look how cool I am.
Beeper?
Yeah, beeper. And then pager, I guess.
I don't think I've ever had a pager.
Never had a pager?
No.
Yeah, pager beeper, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but you got the generation that came before us, our parents, and I watch them, and they do their best. But I think in large part, in general, they're lost. They acclimate the best they can. I think they struggle a lot, but they also I think they're more responsible. So they're less likely to just go out and buy new technology for the sake of having new technology.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think most of them buy the technology because there's a purpose. There's a reason why they bought it. I communicate with the grandkids, so I need email. You know, I mean, stuff like that.
My mom, she bought a cell phone.
Yeah.
She would literally take the cell phone, put it back in the box in her car and leave it in her
I
car.
remember that.
And then when she wanted to use it, she would take it out of the box just to use the phone for the longest time. I mean, forever it took her to actually keep the cell phone on her.
Right.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, it's a perfect example, though.
Well, and stories, people relate to stories.
Yeah.
My mom was just here, with us last week and the week before or whatever. And she had her iPhone. She has a laptop at home, that she left back where she lives. And she has 4 Kindles.
I mean, she is actually pretty tech savvy, too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she worked
for IBM, though.
Well, she was a pioneer.
Yeah.
When she was, we're talking in the 70s, 80s, being a tech executive at IBM. Yeah, that was a big deal. But even her, you have to take some time to just explain, why don't we just go with one sort of ecosystem, stick with maybe Apple, iPhone, iPad.
Yeah.
Get rid of the laptop, get rid of the Kindle devices. Why do you use the Kindle devices? And she's like, well, I play games. I'm like, what else do you use it for? That's it. Just games? Just games. Okay, well, we can do that on the iPad. Mm-hmm. It's less technology that you need to maintain. And the good thing is she took the advice, right? So you have our generation, you have that generation that came before us, and then you have this generation behind us, right? Our kids and our kids' kids now, because we're grandparents.
Yeah.
And they don't remember what it was like to not have technology everywhere, all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if we've done a good job, not us, just us as parents, but us as a generation in helping them be responsible, because I don't think we've been responsible. And that's the part that really scares me the most. So, when we say, has technology gone too far? I think it has, because it's not necessarily too much technology. Maybe it is too much, but we just continue to adopt more and more and more without really understanding, without having rules, without, what is responsible use? What's an addiction? Because we know that there's been studies that if you take a cell phone away from a kid today, there's physiological and psychological effects to that, like anxiety.
I know, huge money.
And, major stress. Mm-hmm. What age do you think people are giving their kids phones nowadays?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it depends. I mean, I think it depends on the parents. Some do it at young age. Some do it at still wait till mid-teens.
Right. And now we've got things like AI, right?
I know.
And I think the general population, it seems novel. There's this fear of missing out.
Yeah.
It's cool. But there's no what's responsible use for it? When I ask AI a question, or, ChatGPT, let's say, I give it a question, write a prompt, and it replies. Do I just take it at face value?
Yeah.
Or do I actually wonder, I don't know if that's actually true.
Yeah. And
do some additional research,
I
so spoon fed.
That's what's wrong with the world right now.
Yeah.
That's sorry, but that is what's my biggest fear, is because people are already doing that.
Yeah.
That's part of what's gone on in the media.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do research. They just take what people tell them and base what they believe off of that.
Yeah.
And
we're seeing some of that after the election.
Oh my, not some. We're seeing a lot of that. Yeah. And before the election, things would come out right before the election, and then now, it's been going on for a while, but.
Do you think there's an unraveling that's happening with the fabric of society? There's always been these common things that just kind of keep us together, hold us, even though we disagree on things and stuff. Being the fact that I have social skills, because I do talk to people face to face, and I value that. It seems like today people don't value that nearly as much. And instead of viewing somebody as a person, it seems like we're viewing them more as an object, like some abstract thing. Like when I'm on social media, you see it all the time. There are things I would say, not me. I try not to anyway. But there are things that people would say to me on social media, but they would never say to me face to face.
Well, I think that I agree with you. I think that's because people don't take the time to do this. Yeah. Sit down and talk to somebody and actually get to know them and find out something about them. Like, it's okay for me and you to have differences. I may not even like you, but that's okay. You can learn to take something good away from it was generic. But you can always learn to take something good away from everybody. There's always something you can take away from someone. And it's okay to have complete differences, but still enjoy the conversation and have respect.
Right.
And people don't do that. And it's so easy when you're on social media to be able to say, horrible things or nasty things or
this last week, that's what I've been doing.
I mean, the most
crazy.
It's absolutely, I don't even have words, and do all of that because you're not face to face. You know what I mean?
And saying that, you can look at these things and, that you see online, because there's also, things that we may not even talk about a lot here, are things like deep fake technology, right? Where somebody could take a video, make a video of me, use my voice, and for all intents and purposes, anybody who's reading it, receiving it, watching it, it's me, but it's fake. So there's also a lot of that stuff that goes on, and I think people.
And this was happening before the election. So
yeah, it's so easy.
Take away the election right now.
So easy to dupe people.
Yes.
They're so dependent on technology that, well, the computer said so, or the internet said so, or whatever. They just consume all this stuff all the time. And there's so much of it.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't even know how many emails I have all the time, how many messages I have, whether it be on Teams or whether it be on, what else am I using? Text or what's the hell's that other one? Signal, WhatsApp. I mean, shit. There's so many messages and it's crazy. And it makes me like really transactional, meaning it's just do this. And it's not relational. Taking the time to find out who somebody actually is, asking the questions, asking why. So I think technology.
And maybe for me, it's easy because I'm a relator.
Yeah.
But I like to be one-on-one in person and stuff. So maybe it's just easy for me to say that because I'm a relator that way.
Well, that's my number one strength too.
Yeah. So
your number two strength, I think, is relator, right? Or
yeah,
three?
It is.
Two or three.
Two or three.
Number one is responsibility, which on my list, it's not.
What are you, competition?
Number one is relator. Number two is competition.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, which just means I only play games I think I can win. Doesn't mean I'm special at anything, but if you want to play golf, if you want to go golfing, I'm not interested.
Yeah, because you're
not going to win that game. You want to play cribbage, want to play just about any other darts, pool,
something that you really, really like.
Yeah, then funny. I'd probably have a chance at it. So this love-hate relationship with tech, because I think some days I love it, some days I do hate it. Some days I don't want to sit in front of my computer. I don't want to do anything today with tech. I just want to go scuba diving, go shopping. I mean, I don't care what. Just I don't want to be around it.
Shopping.
Well, I do. You've seen me. Like, I'll go grocery shopping.
Oh.
I'll just go by myself, or I'll just.
So you're not a shopper, no?
Well, I'm impulsive.
Yeah.
So I might just go to Costco, just walk up and down the aisles.
That's true, and then come back with something.
Yeah, something I don't need. Yeah, but that's I think that's the way to cope for me when I just have too much technology. I've just had too much.
Yeah.
I need to go scuba diving. Anything, play piano, what about you? Do you ever feel like you have a love-hate relationship with tech? Like sometimes you dig it and sometimes you're like, fuck it.
Yes, I do. Like I bought that new little camera thing, don't know how to use it, and I have no patience to try to figure it out.
Talking about the Insta360.
Yes, I have no patience to try to figure it out.
So excited to buy that too. That was an impulse buy for you.
It was, and I do like it. I did try to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's complicated, and I tried looking up how to do it, and it's frustrating. So I'm just waiting for John to show me how to use it because he knows how to use his.
Well, maybe that's part too. I mean, when you talk about has technology gone too far, there's different ways to look at that. Maybe technology has gone too far where it's just become too complicated for just everyday people to use it and use it well.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're going to spend, how much was it? How much was that?
I don't remember, honestly. I really don't.
Maybe $500.
I don't think it was that much, but it was higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say you spend $500 on this thing because you look, you saw somebody else use it, or you saw some footage from it, like, oh, that would be really cool. I want to buy that, and you don't think like, I wonder how hard it is to use. I mean, I wonder what the learning curve on this thing is. And then you buy it, and then you're like, this is complicated. I've seen the same thing with multiple pieces of technology. Our daughter, right? Her camera that we bought her, your camera. You're using it still, but it's not easy. Mm-hmm. It's not simple. It's not just plug and play. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of a plug and play society nowadays.
Oh yeah. We want immediate gratification. We want to be able to use things very simply, quickly. I agree with that. Yeah. So it depends on what, like example, like your iPhone, you plug it in, it's easy. You put that you're in English, whatever.
Right.
It's easy to use. Same with your Apple Watch, your whatever.
Yeah. I do give Apple a lot of credit on that because it is advanced. I mean, if you want to get deep into it.
I'm giving plugs for Apple, but I mean, there's other things too that are very easy.
No, but I think it's a good example because that's one of the things that made Apple, I think, as popular as it is its ease of use. The user interface, it's not usually not completely overwhelming. It's single click a lot. It's easy to get around. Whereas like if you give somebody Insta 360 or Linux, it can, your normal everyday user is going to probably get lost with it pretty fast.
So that's one example of something that's not very.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So a love-hate relationship. Do you have any technology that you just like hate?
Hate. Probably do have some more and just.
Or is it more the use of the technology that you hate, right? So maybe you don't hate cell phones or iPads or whatever, but I hate when I see people not interacting, at dinner. You go out to eat and you see a whole family sitting at the table and no talking, heads down. Does that eat you up? Does it piss you off?
Yeah, I don't like that. I also don't like
pornography, right? We've seen how that,
Yeah, that one I really don't like for personal reasons.
Well, and that's one of those things that people, one of the things that I hate a lot. I mean, I hate, the biggest thing I hate is people taking advantage of other people.
Yeah.
That's what
absolutely.
I hate. And when you look at technology, we don't talk about things. There's certain things that are just seem like they're off limits to talk about. There's a stigma associated with it. We have the same thing with like mental health. How often do people talk about depression, suicide, getting therapy, help? You know what I mean? It's like, it's a stigma. And there's a stigma associated with some of the things that happen online that we just don't talk about.
Yeah, I agree.
And one of those things is pornography.
Yeah.
And, I first I have a background that sort of prohibits me from pornography just because I was molested as a child, right? And it's not one of those things that, it just ain't something that's been something for me. So, and I remember when we had our marriage small group, right, for at church, right? And we had like, I think, let's just say 8 couples, right? Us, including us. So we had 8 couples there. And we had gone to this marriage conference, you and me. And the pastor was talking about what pornography does to marriage, right? And it was like, and the statistics were staggering. Like, what percentage of men, and this is back then, I don't know what it is now because I haven't done any research on it, but it was like 80%, let's say. I don't know the exact number, but 80% of men struggle with it. And I don't even know what it is for women. I'm sure it's some number as well.
Yeah, the last time I looked it up, I think it was like 30% or something.
Right. And then he said that the reason why they don't talk about it a lot in church is because some of the people that are addicted to it are the pastors.
Yeah.
He's like, man, that's crazy. And then I got to thinking, well, and there was a book for sale, right? It was a thin little book, and it was called Born Again Christian. And so I was like, I'm going to buy these books. I'm going to buy all the men in our small group this book. And then I'm going to see if we can't do a small group about this. If we can't talk about it, shed some light on it. I don't like stigmas. I don't like somebody where they just they feel like they have to deal with something by themselves, or they just don't deal with it at all. And so bought the books. We went back and we had the small group, and I said, here, I got an idea. I want the guys to break off and the women to break off. And the guys, I want us to go study this Born Again Christian thing. and talk about it. Because if any of us are struggling with pornography, we should support each other and talk about what it's doing to your marriage, and all that shit. And so we agreed, right? But that's because I think the women were there, right? Which of the men was going to say, no, I don't want to do that, So you broke off. We went in our own group, and the first night, all the men showed up. It was awesome. I thought, dude, this is going to be so cool. I mean, we're going to learn a lot. And then the next week, only me and Kevin were there, right? And so I thought, oh, there's the 80%, right?
Yeah.
Because the things that we don't talk about it for a number of reasons. I think one, we're convicted ourselves. We feel, if we're doing it, who wants to talk about it? And I think another reason is you don't understand the consequences associated with it, right? If you've read up on what those things do, it leads to actually pornography on the back end. There's a huge human trafficking piece to that, right? How do you supply? There's a supply and you are the demand, right? I'm in front of the computer watching this thing. And what am I doing, by the way, while I'm watching this thing? Well, let's call a spade a spade. You're masturbating. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing. Yeah. Right? Because that's another, how many people want to talk about masturbation? It's just like this shit because
human trap. Yeah. That's just it.
Like, you are the
pornography.
Where's the supply coming from?
Pornography leads to a huge amount of things. That goes exactly, a lot of it leads to human trafficking. And human trafficking is something that is huge to me.
Right. And you as the demand, as the consumer of it?
The U.S. is the number one consumer.
Oh, I'm sure. And it's an addiction. Mm-hmm. And like any addiction, you more and more, right? Mm-hmm. You see it happen with drugs, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, I used to get high off of one pill. Now I need 2 pills. Now I need 3 pills. Now I got to inject it. Now I got to smoke it. You know what I mean? It never stops. And so it leads from what was just casual, continues to progress. And now you're into child pornography or you're into God knows what. You've just seen it. And there's been enough studies that that's where it goes. And so when I think about a love-hate relationship with tech, I love the things it can do for us when we use it right. I love the things, the conveniences. I hate things like that. I hate abuse of it.
Well, I was going to talk about tech. You were saying the tech of it. You're talking about drugs and too in there. That's another thing is buying drugs online.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that stuff. All of that is,
It's got the thing, right? It's like all technology can be used for good.
It can
be used for bad.
Yes. It's got the pluses and the negatives of it. But it is a huge negative industry too. It's an industry as well,
right?
Because of the things that you can do online with it.
Yeah. Because when I was a kid, going back to that, having one foot in before the tech and one foot in after, this generation is a very unique position. The perspective we bring to technology, and we got to do better. We got to stop and think more. When you talk about pornography, the type of pornography you had when I was a kid was Playboy magazines that were hidden in my dad's closet. And I knew they were there because I'm an adolescent boy. You know what I mean? I didn't understand any of it or anything, but you compare that to what you got now, right? On my phone, I've got pornography, like whatever I want in 4K. You can even get it on the damn.
I was going to say virtual reality.
Yeah, you can get it and I can take that with me anywhere. I can, it's. I'm not saying everybody does that, but that's the thing.
No, but if you have it, your children have it. Everybody has it,
right?
Which is really, I don't know.
Here, turn this a little bit more toward you.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, sad to me.
Well, it is sad because we don't talk about it. So then we just assume that's not a problem or assume it is a problem. I don't know.
It's a huge, and it's a $1 billion industry.
I know, and somebody's consuming it, right? And it's normal, like psychology 101 type things, right? When you are addicted to something, it takes control of you, whether it be alcohol, mm-hmm. whether it be drugs, whether it be pornography, whether it be video games, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think I've always once I confronted my own addiction to alcohol, was my drug of choice, you really start to think a lot about how addiction works and how to avoid it. The thing about addiction is you can't control it. People say, well, I can control it. You can't. It controls you. And the second thing about addiction is, meaning you can't control it means you have to cut it out completely. You can't, I can't have just a beer or a shot. It just keeps going and going. So that's sad, I think. And the fact that we don't talk about it, I don't know what the actual consequences are. Are some of the social ills that we're seeing today, is any of this related to that? I don't know. The fact that nobody talks about it, your guess is as good as mine.
On the mental, I think you were talking kind of on the mental health aspect of it too and stuff. And I think that tech, definitely can affect mental health for sure,
Good point. Now, there have been studies. I think there's been some studies about, I remember one about teenage girls, and it had something to do with, I think the suicide rate had significantly increased for teenage girls around the same time as social media.
Well, I think you take a look at, these kids are spending so much time on TikTok and spending so much time on Snapchat and, just Instagram and all of these things. And it's all teens. And now you've got other things like, and it's not only adults doing this. There's young children that are 19, 20, 21 on the, what do you call it? The one where you put your feet on.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, you totally know what I'm talking about.
But I can't remember the name of it.
The
OnlyFans?
Thank you. OnlyFans and all that stuff. And they're selling, parts and stuff like that. But it's crazy. They, people make, they'll rip on them for doing things, make comments about how they look and just all of this stuff. And that can take a toll on young ages, know.
I have friends.
The cyberbullying that goes on.
I have friends that are my age that get they measure a significant amount of their self-worth based on how many likes they get to things.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So you make a post and you're watching the likes. How many likes they get. And if you're not getting, it's easy to compare yourself, right?
Yeah.
Another person might have 100 likes on their post and you're like, well, what the hell? My shit was better than that. Why did I only get 3? Right? So you start getting this feeling like, instead of getting self-worth from and identity from the things around me, I'm getting my identity based on how I'm perceived online, which can be super destructive.
Absolutely.
Remember we watched that Netflix show, The Internet's Most Hated Man? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. What did that do to those girls?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're using that revenge porn.
Yeah.
But I think...
Interesting. Yeah.
So to me, I think technology it's inherently neutral. Meaning it's not good or bad. It's how you're using it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because there are technologies I really, really like. I love my watch. I use it all the time. I count my steps. I use it for timekeeping. I'm not addicted to it. I'm not on it all the time. But you compare that with my phone, I can easily be addicted to my phone. I can spend hours and hours on my phone. And I appreciate, and I think if you struggle, any of the listeners, if you struggle with that, try to find somebody to help you hold you accountable to it. I have you, I have, other friends, but you're my number one. Like, if you die before I do, it's going to be fucked up around here.
Well, you said you were going to get like 50 dogs. Okay.
100 dogs in this house.
I'll be dead, so I won't know.
But there's another thing. We were talking about that earlier today, or maybe it was Thursday, about how my dogs actually hold me accountable. Like Violet. Mm-hmm. If I'm sitting at a computer for too long, she will sit right here and she will yell at me.
Yeah.
Get up, fat ass. Let's go for a walk. I'm like, okay. And at first it irritates me because I'm in the middle of something, and I'm paying attention. And then I'm like, you know what? She's right. She needs attention and I need to get up. Mm-hmm. So I like that was kind of on accident that Violet became an accountability partner for me. Could you go, if you lost all tech, let's say for a day, you'd be all right?
Yes, I would be totally fine.
How about a week?
Yeah, it would be totally fine. I wouldn't be happy. I would be fine without my phone. don't give a crap about my phone. The only thing I do like is I like to watch like Netflix or something at night. It makes my mind not think.
Well, on your phone, you wouldn't be able to do FaceTimes, the kids and the grandkids.
Yeah, it would suck, but I'd be fine with that. It's more I like my mind goes all the time, nonstop. So I like to watch TV at night where it's zoned out and I don't have to hear my brain.
Right.
That's really why I watch TV.
Right. And so we're talking about those techs, but I think a lot of other tech that people don't think about are, the tech that brings the lights, make sure that the lights come on. There we have, you could go a lot deeper, but I like where you're staying.
I have a lot of candles, so I'm okay.
Well, yeah, because you could dig pretty deep into the tech piece. Last year, we had a hurricane. We had a Category 4 hurricane hit directly here. And we lost power for a week, no water for a week. And I didn't feel like we had any trouble at all navigating that. Now, we had prepared for it ahead of time, so we did have a generator. We did have it gassed up. We had 10 circuits, in the house that were on that generator. Headphones still. So we didn't lose tech. But I think also being that we remember what it was like to not have tech, I think we're much better suited to be without tech. We're self-sufficient. Like the hurricane, we had no tech for a week. We may not like it, but we would totally be fine. We would survive through it. I wonder about the generation after us. How do you think they would do?
I don't think, honestly, during the hurricane, I would have been okay with the only thing I would have probably missed a little bit was the TV. But I think Lydia would have absolutely gone crazy.
Yeah.
With no phone.
Our grandkids are young right now.
Yeah, they're young now. They don't have phones yet or anything.
Fast forward, what do you think they're going to be like when they get to be?
I think it depends how their parents raise them when they give them phones. It just depends on each parent's, you know what I mean? It depends how each parent.
Well, we have these life skills, right? I remember Lydia came home with a boyfriend once, right? We met, and first time I met him, and he was talking about, how he needed new brakes in his car. And he was like 17 or something, right? Michael, just get brakes, put them in. He's like, I don't know how. I was like, oh, okay. You mean your dad didn't teach you how to do brakes? I just thought everybody's dad taught him how to do brakes. It's like, no, I've never done brakes before. I'm like, all right. And I went with him, and I'd only met the guy, and we went and got brake pads, and I showed him how to put brakes on the car. But it's like those things that I kind of take for granted from my childhood, learning how to fix things, learning how to use tools, learning how to change a flat tire, learning how to do an oil change, learning how to cope without technology. I wonder if this next generation is losing that.
I don't think they'll have to go without technology, honestly. I think that our world...
An advancement, like you set a new baseline.
Yes, I think it's just a new base now that their life will be without technology.
Yeah.
It's going to be like Jetsons. It's going to be...
I wonder how many people can get from point A to point B nowadays without the Apple map or Google Maps.
Probably not many.
Do you remember maps?
I remember maps. And if I had a map in front of me, I could do it, but nobody has maps anymore.
True.
However, I will be honest with you, I am horrible with direction. So if you told me to go south, I would have no freaking idea which way south. I'm horrible at direction. That's why I have you. I am just not good at knowing which way is north. I could probably figure it out eventually.
Right. Well, and that's a different thing too. Like,
I'm just not geographically
right.
Like,
well, some people have some people have other gifts. You know what I mean? So, all right. When you look at tech, one of the things that concerns me is who's in control. When you think of Microsoft, X or Twitter, Facebook or Meta, you've got all these really big tech companies, and they control the tech. They control how it's designed. They control how it works. So as you become more and more reliant on the technology, does that concern you that somebody else actually controls this, especially like AI?
Yeah.
AI, there's somebody in the background who created or maintains the AI. It's a bunch of It's an algorithm,
Yeah.
very complex algorithm, but there's always bias. Right? Anything that's created by any human being is biased.
Yeah.
Because that's a concern for me as we become more and more dependent on tech. I'm giving up more and more of my independence.
Yeah, which I do not like.
No.
And I don't like the more they know about me is not good.
There's that too. There's the privacy issues for sure.
But yeah, I mean, that does.
Because if I became so dependent on this, because I don't know if you've read stories of people who followed Google Maps basically into a lake.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, it's the same. I don't trust anything like that. I barely trust people, so much less trust that. And it's one reason, like in Arizona, they have the car, those cars where they don't have a driver. I would never drive in that.
Right.
It concerns me.
Yeah, it does too. And so the more and more you depend on tech, the more and more tech takes control.
Yeah.
You give up control of certain aspects of your life to the technology that you're using. And then you become dependent on it. So if the tech tells me, because I think this is where it's going to go before it goes to like humanoids eliminating human, meaning AI-driven machines that eliminate us. Maybe. I'll be dead by then. But along the way, it's very powerful, the technology. And the more and more I just believe what I read, the more and more I lose the ability to think critically, the more and more I give control to tech. I read a study, and we talked about this on Thursday too. For the first time in the history, since I started tracking the IQ, of the United States, they started tracking, I think, sometimes in early 30s, right? They tracked what's the average IQ. And every year from the 1930s till 2023, it had gone up. 2023 to 2024, this last year was the first time ever it had gone down. So every year, you plot that, and it's always gone up. There's never been a down and up and down and up. It's never been that. It's always been up. And this is the first time it went from 100 to 98. And so, and maybe it's an anomaly, right? It's just 1 year, sample error rate, whatever, right? It'll be interesting to keep track on that, because as technology gets smarter, are we getting dumber? And I'm not talking, whoever's creating the technology is not getting dumber. They're the ones that are using the technology really for whatever purpose it is, to make a whole bunch of money.
I actually think people are getting dumber and I'll tell you why. I think that people are relying on their technology and what they're reading now instead of actually doing the work themselves. Not only that, but they're just believing anything they see and read instead of doing research to find out if it's actually true.
Right. And go to that point. So the point on reading, when my mother was here, who is a very intelligent person.
Very intelligent.
But for the first time in my life, and I'm not ripping on her, but I do say things the way I see them. Like I called her old, and she's like, I'm not old. I'm like, lady, you're old. I mean, it's just, right? You got to tell the truth. But I think this is the first time I actually saw, I think my mother has gotten dumb. And and I'm not ripping on her, that might be offensive to some people. And I don't think it's related to a deterioration of her mental capacity.
Yeah.
Because I asked her more just about things, right? We had some really good discussions, not about this particular thing. And one of the things that she said to me that really stuck out is she goes, I'd never read the news. I just read the headlines. But I think one of the things, I think a lot of people actually do that.
Yeah.
Because there's so much fucking news.
Yeah.
You're getting bombarded from all directions. Fox, CNN, MSNBC, everything. You don't have time. You don't have time to read all those articles. And so what she does is she just reads the headlines.
Which doesn't tell you crap.
Well, it only tells you.
It just tells you, but it doesn't tell you all the facts and the details. It
tells you the sense that, yeah, right. It usually just tells you the sensation.
Yes, exactly.
So you're thinking, fringe.
Yeah.
And you didn't actually read anything to justify what that article,
yeah.
excuse me, what that headline said. Because she reads. She's
Yeah.
always been a fantastic
Yeah.
reader. But I think, and I'm going to think maybe that's part of why, one, we become more dependent on technology than we ever have. But two, we're not actually taking the time to read. You read headlines all the time. Headline, headline, headline. And then that might take you somewhere. But of all the news articles you see in a day, how many of them do you actually read from top to bottom?
That's another thing that I would like to see is I'd like to see a survey on how much do people actually read of, you know what I mean? Like the news things that they are seeing.
Yeah.
Do they actually read them?
Right. Read and question.
Yes.
Right. Just because it says this, is that really true?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if something goes against my own worldview, something seems out of whack, and that's where that critical thinking piece comes in, right? You wouldn't notice that, you know, I'm going to validate that. That just seems off to me. So then you go and research, right? And it may take more time for you to do that. But the thing about research, and you know, here's a great thing that's a good thing about technology. Before, when I wanted to do research on something, I had to go to the library or the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? That volume of fucking...
Yeah, we had,
Yeah, I did too. And you'd have to look it all up, right? Well, here's, you know, a great benefit to technology. I can just Google it.
Yeah.
Right? I can find sources online, bookmark the ones that I think are valid sources, but still always questioning.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, my mother, because she's gotten a little fringy on things. You know what I mean? She jumps to conclusions more than I remember her ever jumping to conclusions.
I agree with you, because when I asked her to, she said she doesn't read the news. And I was like, well, then...
How do you...
I know. I'm like, what? You're so intelligent. Why wouldn't you actually read it? I just ignored it because I don't want to start an argument.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Because I think there's a lot of polarization, you know, depending on where you're getting your messaging. And because if you look at her generation, and maybe my grandfather, her father, the news you got was from the newspaper,
which I liked. Yeah.
Right.
And it was accurate.
Well, and what was normally in the newspaper was local.
Yes, true.
News that actually affects me, that I should actually be aware of. And maybe some things like, you know, huge national.
Yes, you would get,
But what I didn't get was bombarded all day long with a bunch of shit that I can't do anything about, that doesn't really affect my life.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've appreciated about living down here it's just another perspective, living here in Mexico and watching the United States election from here. If Kamala was elected, it's not going to destroy my fucking life.
Yeah.
I still am going to get up tomorrow morning. I'm still going to maybe brush my teeth if I remember. You know, I'm still going to pull my hamstring, get my damn underwear on. I mean, the day is still going to continue to go on, and I'm going to take care of the things that I can take care of. I can't take care of the federal government. But I think, you know, you can put that perspective, but I can see how people, when they get bombarded with all this shit all the time, they lose perspective. And then, you know, if Kamala gets elected or if Trump gets elected, it destroys your fucking life if you're on the wrong side of that. If you're on the right side of that, you're like, yeah. You know,
I just think regardless of who got elected, I'm glad that I wasn't there to have to listen to all the commercials and all of that stuff. I mean, and then now the after, I can't stand how people just bash each other for whoever they voted for.
Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous. It's horrible.
But how much has technology dehumanized us?
Yeah.
When you're communicating with people,
it has not dehumanized me.
No.
So,
but you're responsible.
But I refuse to let it. And so I think people have to make a choice. It's a choice.
You have to be cognizant.
You choose.
Yeah. You have to be cognizant of it. And I've been reading a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's also actually a big reason I've been, and I haven't posted shit because I don't really care to voice my opinion. But I've been researching, just trying to figure out, like, why are people, because I know that there's always been crazy people in the world, but like the level of crazy I'm seeing right now is beyond anything I've ever seen before.
I agree. It's beyond. And I think, you know, everybody has the right to their feelings and their thoughts and their whatever. They have the right to vote for who they want to vote for. Right. And I have the right to vote for mine. Yeah. And I'm not going to treat you differently for voting for who you voted for. You know what I mean? Whatever.
There's this reasonable.
And that's how it's supposed to be. And the fact that people can't do that and have to be rude on social media or make comments. Well, I'm going to do this, and you know what I mean? It's crazy. And
I know that people that are listening, you might think, well, what does this have to do with technology? What it has to do with technology is the role that technology played, I think, in dehumanizing people.
It still does, yeah.
It still does. And until we learn and encourage and teach responsible use, it's just going to get worse. It's not like I can ignore it. It's just going to go away. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Because I've seen things, and the reason why, and I'm not getting political at all, but the reason why I'm pointing to the election is because that created a crack that I haven't seen before. When I've been monitoring what's going on in social media, a crack where people are saying shit that they weren't saying ever before online. Things like, seen a couple of posts, and granted, still a lot of work to do on the research around it, because this might be fake too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you have to be open-minded that somebody posted something like, holy shit. Okay, was that fake? Were they doing it maybe a satire? You know what I mean? There's lots of reasons that you don't just jump to the conclusion and say, well, that's a crazy ass sumbitch. We better call the FBI and get somebody out there now. So take it with a grain of salt, all this stuff. But things that I've never seen before in this volume, like there was a number of posts I saw today on divorce your husband if he voted for Trump. And then they went on to say, poison him. I'm like, what the fuck? You're going to poison, like you would poison, I'm not saying, but this, putting it in a little perspective here, that would be like you poisoning me because we disagreed on this. Let's say hypothetically, in her perspective, you voted for Kamala. So she voted for Kamala. I voted for Trump, and you're going to kill me.
It's the most ridiculous thing. Because there's certain things just saying,
right.
There's certain things we don't necessarily agree on. And that's the most ludicrous thing.
It is to us.
Yeah.
But there's people where that makes perfect sense. They're completely justified in their minds in thinking that way.
Yeah.
And it could be mental illness. I mean, there could be lots of things behind it.
Absolutely.
But just in general, I've seen more and more dehumanization of than I've ever seen. And I think technology plays a big role in that, because instead of me sitting here face to face with you and having a conversation, because it requires a certain amount of respect for us to talk face to face.
It's actually quite sad. I mean, we live in a very sad world right now.
Well, I think there's lots of things at play, and I think tech certainly has a play in this. And I think if we're going to be responsible in this generation before we die, meaning we had a foot in this side and a foot in this side, we should try to do as much as we can to, starting with your home, starting with the people you influence the most, your own circles, and speak reasonableness, speak balance of technology. You don't need the new whatever it is, just because it's the new whatever it is. Why do you need it? What's it going to do for you? How are you going to use it? Are there going to be rules around it?
Yeah.
I grew up, like I said, without tech, and my parents would put me to bed every night, and they'd lock the front door and lock maybe the windows or something, because you're trying to keep the bad guys out, right? You don't want somebody to break in the middle of the night and take your kid or whatever. Nowadays, we put our kids to bed with the bad guys. It's on their phone. That's the bad guy. And so they're grooming, they're doing all kinds of things. And it's not like, if you're listening to this, don't freak out. It's not like happening everywhere, but it's happening more than it should because of technology. So every bit of technology, when you look at I need the new iPhone 16. Okay, maybe. For why? What purpose do you need it? And then how would you use it responsibly? It goes back to that situational awareness. What are the possible threats in using this phone? Where do I put the boundaries? The average American home today has 13 devices hooked up to the internet, right? Hooked up to a local network that communicates to the internet. Compare that to the year 2000. The average home had probably one I don't know what the number is on the 2000, but I do know the number today is 13 devices. I think most people don't know that they have 13 devices on their network right now. I think most people don't know what's communicating on those networks, how it can be used. Like every technology can be used for good or bad. It's in our own home network here, right? We talked about this on Thursday too. 43 devices are hooked up to this network. Now, there's nothing wrong with 43 devices or nothing wrong with 13 devices. What's wrong is how are they being used? Are they being used responsibly or irresponsibly? The fact that I know there are 43 things on this network and I know what each one of those are, that's a start, right? So when you heard that there were 43 things connected to our home network here, what did you think? What was your first reaction?
It's like, that's a shitload of devices.
Yeah, it is. Do you feel?
And a shitload of money we spent on stuff.
Well, and that's, you got to say, I mean, there's a saying,
Yeah.
You have to spend money to make money. You know, I'd say half, maybe not half, I'd say a third of those devices I use for work stuff. So they are, I use it to make money. What?
Bug flying around me.
And I think another almost third is entertainment. Probably the last third is home security, right? It's the cameras, camera surveillance, alarm system, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So your first thought is, damn, that's a lot. We spent a lot of money.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I have no clue what's a lot, what isn't a lot, what's...
Well, I mean, again, that's a good point.
I mean, I know I have a watch, a phone,
Yeah.
a TV that I watch TV on,
Yeah.
and my computer thing, iPad, I guess you call it. And,
Yeah.
What else do I have? The little Wi-Fi device things that we use.
Yeah.
Router.
How many TVs do you think we have in this house?
Well, I know all the bedrooms have one, but nobody really watches those. They're
No.
just kind of in the rooms.
Interesting. Yeah, and those wouldn't show up on the network.
Yeah, I mean, we have in our room, but we don't watch that. I don't know what. I have no clue, honey.
11.
Okay, yeah. Because I only use the one in the
Right.
living room.
Yeah. But that's,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, and for advice for people, when you say, has technology gone too far? Because that's where we started, the original question. I think it depends. It depends. I mean, if you're talking about yourself, your home, your family, that's a great question to ask yourself.
One thing I was going to say is, though, it has gone too far, but I was going to say, I thought of some really great things it's great for.
For sure.
And some of the great things it's great for is like FaceTiming, like your grandkids, your kids. I was thinking of people that are, like soldiers that are over in other countries so they can have communication. People like this, people who can work from afar when you're living, like nomads and stuff like that. And just work from home.
And think of like the learning opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that
I think of like Lydia did her last year here from Mexico and, graduated.
For sure.
Online, homeschoolers and just, I mean, there's so many really great
totally
things that people can.
You've got more information at your fingertips
Mm-hmm.
than ever.
Yeah.
And, so when you think, if this is actually a trend, take the intelligence thing. If it went from 100 to 98, and if it doesn't, it should be something that we pay attention to, because the only reason why it would go from 100 to 98 is because people aren't using the technology responsibly, because it's not like the information ain't there. You want to get smart.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got so many learning opportunities. Most of them are free.
Yeah.
Or low cost. I mean, shit. When I was going to, I went to college in 1988. If I had what we have today, God, I just feel like I'd be so much more intelligent, or I would have just killed myself because I got too addicted to it. I don't know. But it's, so it's not like the technology's made it so accessible and made so many opportunities for us, but we're not capitalizing on it, and we're letting the bad shit happen too much.
I think something you have to keep in mind, though, is, you guys are all computer people, pretty people. But a lot of people are not, like everyday people are not as educated as how to use it.
Right.
And so you also have to keep in mind that many people are probably, if the people that are not educated are probably afraid or have been scammed. And especially now, it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's getting worse. I mean, it just keeps, I know because I see it every day when I go on another person getting scammed.
Well, think about this.
And I respond to those comments of the people who got scammed saying, well, why did you do that? Why did you just give them?
You got to be careful too, because you don't want to victim shame either.
No, I didn't. I say it in a very nice way and tell them what they should have done in a nice way. Yeah. I don't just say, why the hell did you do that? I mean, I'm not rude. Yeah, I did. I don't do that.
I want to.
But I don't do that. But I'm just saying, like, this is what you should have done for next time. You know what I mean? Whatever. I mean, I'm nice about it.
This is cool. I mean, there's so many layers to this onion to peel back.
But
I mean, I was thinking too, as you were talking, like the haves and have-nots. Like for technology, like there's a lot of people that don't have it. Like it's not accessible to them. Like we were here in Mexico, all the kids that go to school here versus the kids that go to school in the U.S. Right? In the U.S., a lot of schools have iPads. And I mean, you have all this technology. So I think technology, again, if you don't use it responsibly as a society, it makes that gap wider because you have the technology. I don't. You have an advantage. But I guess if you want to take it full circle, if you keep using the technology irresponsibly, eventually those consequences will come back and it'll fuck you over and then you'll be back where I am.
Well, and some people aren't even, I mean, I'm just saying, like, many people are just not educated in how to use it, or they're scared to use it because they don't want to get scammed, or they've been scammed.
Right.
They've had, I don't know. And right now it's just happening more and more and more where people are just
getting scammed.
Absolutely. And it's only going to get worse, I think.
Well, yeah. And there's
especially with AI.
Well, another thing that people don't talk about, that stigma thing, is I've read a number of news stories, and I don't think there's any good statistics, but how many elderly have committed suicide after being scammed?
I know a lot. Yeah.
I read enough to know that it's not isolated. It's happening more, and I don't think there's a good study that's got good data on it. But on the ones that we have or that I've read about, the reason why they commit suicide is, number one, is they're ashamed. They're ashamed, and they're ashamed because of the stigma. Right? My family is going to think I'm stupid. How could I have ever done this? It was $100,000, $200,000. All of my life savings is gone. I'm the outcast. That's one reason. And you couple that then with the hopelessness that all those years, all that money, all that whatever that you saved up for, and whatever is gone. And I think so many elderly, like my own mother, I'll use her as an example again. We mentioned about we're going to build a casita here, and we wanted her to come stay here. And it's nice because I think at this twilight sort of years, I want to try to spend some time with her, but I also want to be there when she falls or needs help, needs a ride, whatever. And when I was talking to her about that, she said, I don't need any help.
Yeah, she does not want any help or anything.
But I think a lot of that older generation doesn't want to be a burden on their kids.
Yeah.
That's why my mom doesn't tell me things like when she hurt herself or whatever, right? Fell, whatever. She doesn't want to tell me because she doesn't want to be a burden to me. So I think, how much of that in just technology use all over the place, they don't tell us shit because they don't want to be a burden or they're ashamed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know, I just know that, like, I've seen down here a lot of the elderly or older people in their 60s, 70s and stuff being scammed.
Right.
For apartments, things like that, over and over. And it's sad.
Yeah. Down here, there's some cartel work. There's been some.
Yeah, these were in a cartel, but
federal indictments about, what do they call that? The properties, when I buy the property, but I don't own it. I just own a piece of shares of it. What is that called? Timeshare.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was that. This is actually just one property, and it's one person who did it on Apple. pay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been watching it now for a while, and it's sad.
Well, we don't hold.
You know,
There's such a lack of accountability too. That's the part that pisses me off too. It's like we're still trying to figure out like what is responsible use? Who should be accountable for these things?
yeah.
And so it would be nice if like it were possible to pause a little bit, let the dust settle, figure out where the fuck we're at, figure out what is responsible, what's not responsible. But instead it's still pedal to the metal, keep creating new shit. What's coming out with the new iPhone 17? What's that gonna be? And I was startled to find out that my new truck, I read one estimate, there's 250 million lines of code.
Million?
Million.
Okay.
And so a line of code is, you've seen me develop writing programs, right? A line is just one line, right? So a whole bunch of lines of code. So 250 million lines of code. The average number of errors that find their way to the consumer, so whoever bought the product, is, say, 7 errors per 1,000 lines of code. So 7 errors. The error can be just a bug, just make something not work that should be working, or it could be a vulnerability, something that an attacker could, compromise. So if you do the math, there's hundreds of thousands of errors in that truck that I drive, that I rely on all the time. And now we're working on autonomous driving, right? Where the car will drive for me.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Well, whether you want it or not, it's going to be here. You're going to have to share the road with it. Even if you don't decide to
That's
get
fine. I'm just not driving in that thing. Yeah, autonomous, whatever you call it. I'll take I don't even like the ones now that have like all the, I don't know, what do you call them? Oxygen sensors and all that coding stuff thing. I like the old school, roll the window down.
Yeah. My dad, when I was growing up, he had a 1970 Pontiac Le Mans.
That's cool.
It was a beautiful car. And I remember I was small enough that I was standing in the engine compartment while he was working on it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Just give me an old Bronco. I'll be happy.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think? When you think about balance, what advice would you have for somebody like me or somebody who has a different perspective than you do on what's a good balance? How would I find my balance with technology?
Oh, balance. I thought you were just going to leave it at balance. I was like, what?
No, I'm not.
Oh, with technology.
Yeah. What advice would you give me? Or imagine yourself sitting there with 10 of my friends.
That's a hard question to give somebody who works in technology.
I know, but like you've seen me out of balance. You've seen when I'm on my phone too damn much. You've seen enough. If you were to let's say I came to you and I'm like, I'm struggling. I know I'm using technology too much. I don't know what balance is. What would you say? I mean, would you give me any advice? Would you have any advice for me on where I could find my balance?
I would, but okay. Yes.
It's a tough question.
It's a
tough card.
I know, but it's a tough question because I think because you guys are always using it for your work.
Sure.
I feel like you would just be like, oh, well, I have to do this work.
Right. But there's a life balance there too, right? Work and life.
I know. And so I feel like it would be hard to know if you're actually doing work and not doing work.
Still technology. It's still out of balance.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that not being on your phone so much, I feel like working all day on your computer and then all day night on your phone, you know what I mean? And then podcasts at night, multiples, classes, you know what I mean? It's just,
right.
I think there has to be a balance. For one, it's probably not healthy for you with eyes, whatever.
I see right through you right now.
Okay. I don't know.
I mean, X-ray vision.
I feel like all of you security people work that much. You know what I mean? From what I've seen when you people are here.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tell you balance.
No.
It's hard because.
Yeah. I'll tell
I feel like you all are the same.
No, we're different. But but we have the same thing at work, right?
Yeah.
I'm a guy who really strives all the time to be, especially like high level shit. I mean, I break my word on things because I forget things. usually smaller things. But on like our mission statements or our core values, our mission statement, it's always been the same, but our core values, right, are we tell the truth.
Yeah.
That's number one. And it's no compromise.
Yeah.
And so another one, number 7 on that list is work-life balance, work hard, play hard, right? And so I've had a lot of time to think about this over the years. What is work-life balance? What is balance? And some of the things I've learned is, number one, my balance is different than yours. Balance is the individual, right? It's their own circumstance, their own life. For some people, working 40 hours a week is in balance.
Yeah.
For other people, working 80 hours a week is in balance. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think that's important for people to understand what is balance. But what's responsible in that is that you've been self-aware enough, you've been honest with yourself enough to figure out what that balance is. Now, the unusual situation for somebody like me is...
You've gotten way better at it, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm trying to learn.
No, you have. I will say that you've gotten much better in the last year.
Well, one of the things I promised you, and I still remember it, was I said, if you let me do 10 years of the work in the next 5 years, I promise to retire.
Yeah.
And you agreed to that. And I still haven't retired. So I'm still working to get to that, because one of the things that we also wanted to do when we lived here was spend more time together.
I tell people you'll never retire.
No.
I know.
No, but it's that balance, right? And so and when people come to me, I was getting on this too.
Sorry.
No. I love your perspective, honey. I mean, it means a lot, because I don't know what the world looks like through your lens. Mm-hmm. And if I want to have peace in our relationship, and I think this is good advice for anybody too, if you want to have peace in your relationships, you have to understand the world from their perspective, because you have to marry the perspectives, right? If you see the world black and I see the world white, or you see the world blue and I see the world red, we're always going to be at odds. There's always going to be chaos. But if you want peace, you have to figure that shit out. So on the balance thing, like being the CEO of a company, it's hard to find your balance, because at the end of the day, the buck stops here, right? So you have to, nobody else wants to do the work, I have to do the work, right? And so, you always have, so that's a different balance from your job position too.
Yeah.
And when people have asked me at the office, like, what's balance, and I explain this, and well, how can I find my balance? And I think the way I do it, or try to do it, is look at my relationships, look at my house, look at my relationship with you. If my relationship with you is off, and we both know when it's off.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Why? Is it potentially because I'm out of balance? Is it potentially I'm working too fucking much? Is it potentially I'm on my just on text too much, playing around too much? And you have to. So that's how you find your balance. I think you find your balance based on, like I said maybe earlier, shitty choices have consequences. Bad behaviors have consequences. The consequence of me being out of balance is usually my marriage. Mm-hmm. I mean, or other relationships, that are important to me. That's usually the consequence. So that's how I figured out balance for me. I don't know. Does that make sense? Does that?
Yes, it does.
Okay. It's not crazy?
No.
Like the other shit I do? All right. So we could talk about, we could, like I said, lots of rabbit holes we could go down around. Has technology gone too far? If you're talking about, as a listener, for you, your loved ones, has technology gone too far? I mean, that's something that's kind of the point, right, of this podcast, is find out the answer for yourself, right? So we're going to finish up with the thing that I just kind of created. I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of fun. It's a quick reaction, quick round. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to give you an option, this or that.
Are you going to answer too?
No, maybe. I don't know. I like your perspective.
Okay.
My perspective's bullshit.
Okay.
All right. So here's the first one. A fridge that orders groceries automatically, helpful or annoying?
Helpful.
Yeah. See, if I was going to answer that, I'd say annoying. I don't trust the damn.
I don't like grocery shopping, so.
Yeah, I suppose. a car that monitors your driving habits.
No.
Would you use it or disable it?
Disable it.
Now, this is an interesting one because we talked about this on Thursday too. A lot of insurance companies now have those things that you can plug into your ODBC port, which is under the steering wheel typically, to monitor your driving.
I just get a dash cam, so if something happened, I'd have camera already. But I don't want somebody telling me how my driving is. I already know I'm a good driver.
Sure. No, you aren't. And so you, how about if I gave you a discount? I give you a 20% discount on your car insurance.
No.
Would you do that?
Nope, I don't care. I'll pay the full price. I want to be able to drive whatever speed.
How much I gave you on a discount? Let's say you're paying $200 a month on your car insurance because you live in New York City or something, and I'm going to give you $100. I'm going to give you 50% off. I'm going to save you $1,200 a year.
I don't want to tell me I can't speed.
I'm just not going to tell you can't do anything. I just want to monitor it.
Fine, it can monitor me then.
See, that's how a lot of technology works. Where the person who's doing that, where they really find the value, is in the data that they're collecting.
But is it going to monitor everywhere I go?
Yeah.
Then I don't want it.
Cool. But I love the fact that you asked those questions because a lot of people don't even ask.
Yeah, I don't want it to monitor everywhere I'm going.
All right, wearables. Wearables tracking every step and calorie. Is it cool or just plain creepy?
Well, it's cool because I have an Apple Watch, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got mine.
Yeah.
This isn't an Apple Watch, it's a Garmin, but I think tracking every step and every calorie, yeah, it's fine with me. Even if you compromise this data, whatever. I have fun with it. A coffee maker that auto brews based on your sleep schedule.
You already know the answer to this.
Bingo. Genius. Someone else is going to buy. We're going to have 10 of those. So our 43 devices that were hooked up to the network have now grown to 53.
Okay.
An AI assistant that calls you by name and makes jokes, but occasionally interrupts conversations. Fun or just plain creepy?
Creepy.
Creepy-est. And Alexa is an AI, maybe.
Yeah, but I usually have her off or turned down because I don't want to hear.
I don't you call me by name either. I mean, I'm not lonely.
No.
I don't need a damn computer to be my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pissed me off. I don't want that. Toilets with health tracking capabilities that analyze your output and suggest diet changes. Over the line, kind of cool.
Over the line.
I think it's over the line too, but I think it'd be kind of cool.
I actually think you would think it was cool,
It would be kind of cool. I'm like, tell me what I ate in this one.
No, thank you.
Yeah. All right. I agree. Smart microwaves, smart mirrors, and smart toasters. Are these brilliant or just tech companies looking for excuses to sell us more junk?
I think it's just tech companies looking to sell us more junk and make more money.
What the fuck would a smart mirror do?
Probably tell you you're pretty and all that.
Really?
I have no clue, honey.
I don't either, because I'm like, mirrors aren't smart.
You could probably go like this, probably make yourself look skinny, big. I don't know.
Like
they kind of already have that. They have like those workout mirrors that are like smart mirrors.
Is that what they're talking about?
I don't know. I have no clue.
What the fuck's a smart microwave? You only got to push like 2-3 buttons.
I don't know. Ours is old microwave that we have here. I'm just waiting for it to die before I get a new one.
So yeah, I think it's
I have no
more junk. I don't need more smart shit. I mean, I like the smart shit I have, but
yeah.
I don't need any more. All right, apps that constantly ping your location and share it with family. Are they practical for safety or just plain invasive?
Well, we have one of these, and I like it because I can see where my daughter goes at all times, if she gets an accident, anything like that.
Yeah, I do think that practical. Yeah. And you just, got to use it, right?
Yeah.
I even use it to make sure people got home safely, all kinds of shit. A device that monitors how you sleep down to the minute you turn over. Handy for better rest or a recipe for paranoia?
So I do not like this. I would not have it. And I don't like that you have it because yours lights up at night and wakes me up.
That's because I configured it wrong.
Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and mine doesn't monitor all of that. I think it's could be better rest because I think there's a lot of people today that struggle with like sleep apnea and shit like that. So if you use it for the right purposes,
better rest for you, not for your wife.
Poor lady. A robot vacuums with live feed cameras so you can see your house remotely. Helpful for security or a potential Big Brother situation?
I don't like it. I don't think it's...
Yeah, fuck that. So, I mean, why would I want to see the house from the perspective of a fucking robot on the ground?
I don't know. First of all, it would never work in our house. Our dogs pee on the floors.
Our dogs would attack it.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We have 4 dogs.
Yeah. It would never work.
A car dashboard cam that records every move and alerts when you're distracted. Safety feature or just one more thing spying?
Yeah. It would just piss me off. I'd probably throw it.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to that, the F-150, the truck I've got, I disabled all that.
Yeah. I know you did.
Pisses me off.
Yeah.
I'm backing up and beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Let me back up.
Yeah.
And the auto brake feature.
Yeah. Yeah.
That pissed me off so much. I'm like, you don't need to brake for me. I saw what the hell's back there. All right. A door lock that only opens with your face. Convenient or a recipe for privacy nightmares?
I don't like that it only opens with your face.
You want another a backup feature?
I need to have a couple backups, yeah. In case one doesn't work, otherwise I'll never get in.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think if you...
Like our door now,
I would have a lot of questions about how this thing works.
Yeah.
And
I have some options right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it's network connected, maybe I don't want to share. I mean, I'd have to see how it's protected.
Well, if your network goes out, you're screwed.
Right.
So.
Well, I don't want this lock to be sending data.
Yeah.
Somewhere either. Because then, I mean, because it said convenient or recipe for privacy nightmares. I mean, if I was going to answer that second part, I'd want to know a lot more information about it. But, yeah, convenient as hell. I don't mean just walk up to the damn door and it opens for me. That's about as convenient as it gets.
Unless it's the middle, super dark and there's no light and it can't see you.
A lot of times they're infrared, so I can see that shit in the night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm all for it. Except for, it's got to be used right. So devices that sense your mood and adjust notifications to cheer you up or suggest calming activities. Does it have potential or is that way too personal?
Way too personal, and I'm not that bougie.
And I'm sorry, man. I can't ever see myself actually wanting to be friends with them fucking.
Yeah, I just don't care.
I mean, I like you.
Yeah, I don't need to.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But I could see other people would be like, oh my God, I could have that. A voice assistant that's truly always on to anticipate your needs. Efficient or evasive?
Absolutely invasive. Sometimes I don't want to hear anything.
We do have one location in the house where that is actually
a voice assistant.
Yeah, we have Alexa in the kitchen.
Yeah, but I turn the volume down.
No, it's still listening.
Well, sometimes I turn her off. Like right now, she's off.
Yeah, there you go. You can do that.
Yeah, I turned it off.
And that would be responsible, not you. When I don't want it, I don't want it off. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I turn it off.
A shower that starts at your perfect temperature automatically and plays your favorite music. Is it a luxury or just one more place for tech to invade?
For me, it's a luxury, and I wouldn't want it because I don't like to listen to music. Sometimes I just want quiet.
But I would love the perfect temperature.
I agree with the shower part. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You ever turn it on and forget to step out of the stream when you turn it on and it's the cold shit?
Yeah.
Do you ever have to be? Oh, I fucking hate that.
Yeah, and I like it when it's just the same temperature every time and you don't have to wait for it. So I agree with that part.
Yeah, and then as your shower goes on, you have to keep turning.
I know, make it hot.
A little bit more cold, a little bit more cold, so you just maintain that warm temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want that. So a fridge that nags you to eat veggies. All right, fuck you. A fridge that I don't want anything.
No, I don't either. I wouldn't even buy it.
A fridge that nags you to eat veggies and warns you when you're low on milk. We're both saying, mind your own business. All right. Tech companies that create digital twins of you for health and product recommendations. So, for people who don't know what this is.
This is
it's sort of, it's like taking characteristics of me, heart rates, all kinds of not metadata. It's actually real data. But things about me, right? So you could take all the things that are my watches.
You would take all my information basically and create another twin with all the information of.
Not a real twin.
No,
not a physical twin.
Yeah,
a digital kind of replica of you. And then what they would do is, well, if we gave you this drug, it would move these things down and see how it affects the rest of the digital you before giving it to the real you. So if people didn't know what this was, but here it says, for health or product recommendations, does this cross the line or is it the future?
For me, it would cross the line. First of all, I wouldn't want, granted, thinking about it, all your health crap is out there anyway. Really. So if somebody wanted it, they can access it anyway. I mean, let's be honest.
I guess it doesn't mean I should give up or make it easier.
I agree. So I'm saying I think it is crossing the line anyway.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think if anything, if you were going to give me something like this, you need to be open and transparent with me on how you're going to protect it, where it's going to go, how you're going to use it, all that stuff. And it provides the benefits that I want and that exceeds the risk, then maybe I would do it. But the fact of the matter is, it's not even the future. It's already happening. So, and without your consent, probably. It's just kind of the crazy thing about what tech is doing with some of our stuff.
Can I tell you something? I kind of feel good that I live in Mexico.
Amen. Me too.
And I'll tell you why. Because a lot of the stuff on here I can't even buy down here.
Right. No, you're right.
Because they're so behind.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
So I kind of feel, I know you can still do stuff online and all of that, but I don't.
Right.
So I don't need to worry about it. You might, but it's like I'm glad that I live here. Like
I can source whatever I need to source from other places, but that was one of the things I was talking to you about. I want us to think about it, pray more about it, and whatever. Because if I'm saying that we've adopted new technology faster than our ability to use it responsibly, I think there's still opportunity in Mexico and other less advanced countries than the U.S. to teach the generation. Like if you taught like the schools here, responsible use of technology, fight the fear of missing out, because they already have, I think a lot of them, when it comes to technology, they don't have the fear of missing out because they already know that they're missing out. And they're fine with it.
When a lot of them can't afford it, which is not, they honestly can't.
Or it's not even available. Like you.
Yeah.
You go to the Apple store here, there's an Apple store here, and things come out in the U.S., maybe 6 to 8 months ahead of when they find their self.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
All right, a parental control app that lets you track your kids' every step, text, and social post. Essential for safety or a bit too much?
Well, I have mixed things on this. I think it depends on the child and the age. I also believe in respecting your child's privacy and trusting them.
Yeah, and seeing you and I have always differed on this. In my house, my child really has very little privacy when it comes to things like this. When your door is closed, shit like that. But I'm paying for the damn phone. I'm monitoring.
Well, the thing is I can look up her texts anyways. I can see everything if I look up the phone bill. So
right. So it's almost like it is essential for safety because you can still do it.
That's what I'm saying. So but I don't need a control app. I can do that anyway. Right. I don't know. I think it's a bit too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think until they can prove, just like anything else, like I wouldn't let you take my car until you can prove to me that you can be responsible with my car. I would do the same thing with the technology until, you just have to be responsible.
Yeah. I think it just depends.
All right. Last question, bonus wildcard question, and we'll wrap this up. I really appreciate you. I like that you're talking to me about all this stuff. All right. So choose your tech-free day. If you had to unplug from all tech for one day a week, which day would you pick?
I'm going to do Thursday.
You would pick Thursday. Why? Just because you could pick any day, basically?
Well, because you do podcasts that day, and so I'll watch TV at night with the dogs.
That's tech.
Huh?
That's tech.
I know, so I wouldn't be able to watch
TV. Was that what you would miss the most?
Oh, no, I'll do Wednesday. Sorry. I had to think about it. I'm tired. Yeah, so Wednesdays.
Okay.
And I would miss watching TV.
All right. And for me, it would be, I don't know what day. You just pick one.
Probably a weekend, probably.
Well, Wednesdays are usually the days when I clear off my schedule now. So Wednesdays, it's not uncommon for me to have a Wednesday where I really don't do much with tech. So maybe it'd be a Wednesday. for me. Well, I needed to have a day to just not have everybody else control my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was a day to just like.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So I think it'd be Wednesday for me. And what would I miss the most? I think it was just a day. I don't think I missed anything most. No.
Really?
Because
Have your phone?
No. That would be the one I'd probably miss the most.
Yeah.
But I just don't think I would miss it that.
'Cause you don't watch TV, so.
No. I think I would.
You can have phone. I mean, you can have the piano.
No, but the cool thing about being a ADHD guy and being that only child that's always kind of found something to do, I would go scuba diving or weld. I mean, can I use welding stuff? Is that technology? Probably is.
No.
I'd do some wood shit, build something. I don't know.
Just looking around. What could I do? What could I do?
I would probably figure out something.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Alrighty.
Well, that's a great episode, Marlis. Will you join me again? Sometime we'll talk about another.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're always welcome here. I share my whole life with you.
Okay.
I don't even know how much money you have because you got it. That's how it works around here. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you, honey.
Thank you.